Virgo, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of September. So before I jump into the energy of the month, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign. It's also your ascendant. It's the sign that rules your first house. And that's how other people perceive you, especially when they first meet you. It's still applicable for your sun sign, which is how you express yourself, as well as your moon sign, which is how you process everything internally through that emotional lens. And so you can kind of see, if you understand all three, it kind of gives you a better picture on how the month is going to play out for you. Normally I would jump in. There's a lot happening in September, so I'm not going to give any kind of preamble. We're just going to jump right in. Right away on the 1st at 11:18 in the morning Eastern time, we have Uranus station retrograde in Taurus. So this one's a pretty big deal. Uranus is one of those planets of transformation. There's two, and they both have a major transit taking place on the 1st. So pretty significant day here. And so when Uranus stations retrograde in Taurus, Uranus is that sudden change. It's let's remove all of these obstacles from your path. Let's do something here. Think of the Tower card in tarot readings. It's that kind of energy. In Taurus, though, Taurus is very grounded, very practical. And so these changes would be for your own best interest here. But because Uranus is retrograde, all of that change is directed inward. You're not going to really experience it much in the outside. It's all going to be on the inside. And so when Uranus stations retrograde in Taurus, it's going to trine Venus in Libra. And so the way that this is going to impact you, Uranus retrograde in Taurus is sitting in your 9th house of growth and expansion. So think of higher education, long distance travel, anything that you would do in order to grow who you are, learn more. It's that higher education house. So these sudden internal changes that maybe could be something where you've held yourself back from maybe going back to school or learning a new language or, exploring something different here, really expanding your horizons, because that's that 9th house energy. It's going to trine to Venus in Libra, and so it's going to easily blend with whatever you value here. And so Venus in Libra likes to bring things together. It's very balanced, but it's sitting in your house of personal finances. So if you have thought about doing something that requires money, this would be the time. Whatever it is that you want to explore, whatever these changes are impacting your personal growth, it's going to easily blend with however you with the money that you have, feeling very balanced. Like this would be a great way to spend the money. We have Uranus retrograde in Taurus, trine Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so Pluto is the other planet of transformation. And so Pluto retrograde, we've been in this energy for a little while. For you, this is sitting in your 6th house of daily routines. And so Uranus retrograde in Taurus, again, those kind of internal changes that are taking place so that you can grow and expand. It's going to easily blend with whatever changes are taking place within your home environment. Again, these would be internal changes. So there's a lot of transformation. If I had to sum up September in one word, that would definitely be the word. There's so much change taking place this month, but in a really positive way. We'll also have Uranus retrograde in Taurus, sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so thinking about your growth and expansion here, those obstacles that are being removed, your path is being cleared so that you can grow and expand here. It's going to create some sort of opportunity for you to have that significant relationship that you're looking for. Neptune retrograde in Pisces is sitting in your 7th house. And so the 7th house is marriage. If you're married, it would be that partner. So spouse, it could be your significant other, those significant relationships in your life. What this is really doing, it's giving you, again, some sort of opportunity that you would have to seize. You would have to take advantage of the opportunity, but really think about what kind of relationship are you looking for? What is it that you really want? What kind of relationship goals do you have? And then how does these obstacles that have been preventing you from growing provide you an opportunity to go after that more? Because that's what's happening right away on the 1st. We'll also have Uranus retrograde square the moon in Leo. And so the moon in Leo is sitting in your 12th house. So that's your subconscious, that's you behind the scenes, away from the public eye, away from everybody else. And the moon in Leo, so Leo is a very bold energy. And with the moon in Leo, kind of thinking about and really expressing yourself in a very bold way, or how you feel about something is very bold, very dynamic, maybe even very creative here. But the changes that are taking place that will allow you to grow are creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to how you feel on the inside. But again, this is more because it's transformation. And so it's not going to feel good at first. It's going to feel different and probably uncomfortable. And that's really what this is all about. And it's not just the moon in the sign of Leo. We also have Mercury in the sign of Leo. And so when Uranus stations retrograde and it starts removing those blocks so that you can grow and expand, it is going to square. It's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to maybe communicating your innermost thoughts or the way that you understand everything that's been taking place, because again, this is transformation. So that is kind of expected here. And so it's just creating an obstacle or challenge. Definitely something that you can work through. You just have to put the effort in. And then we have Pluto re-enter the sign of Capricorn. So that's on the same day that Uranus stations retrograde. These are the two planets of transformation having major transits at the same time within hours of each other. And so when Pluto re-enters Capricorn, it is going to happen on the 1st at 8:08 p.m. Eastern time. Pluto, it's death and rebirth. When it re-enters Capricorn, so what's been happening here is it was in Capricorn, then it moved into Aquarius. Now we're going back into Capricorn, and it's been doing this. And so this is the year where it's kind of bounced back and forth between the two signs. But in Capricorn, Capricorn's about structure and what kind of limitations did you put on yourself without maybe even realizing it. And so when it moved into Aquarius, it was like, oh, here's the planet of transformation moving into a very liberating sign. This was, okay, those structures don't belong here. You need to be more flexible, definitely more nimble. Let's think outside the box here. Let's get rid of some stuff. And so you kind of have this experience of Pluto retrograde in Aquarius to incorporate into this Pluto re-entering the sign of Capricorn. And so think of it as it's closing a chapter in a pretty big way, though, because in our lifetime, we will not experience Pluto in Capricorn again. This is it. And so Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is sitting in your 5th house. This is short-term relationships. This is children, if you have them or if you want them. Hobbies and anything that you enjoy doing outside of work is all incorporated into this 5th house. It's the 5th house of fun. And so when you think about any kind of structures or limitations that have been in place relative to those topics, this is giving you a chance to reconsider all of it. Now, Pluto will be in Capricorn until November 19th when it re-enters the sign of Aquarius, where it's then going to be for 20 years. So this is really closing out a chapter here. When Pluto re-enters Capricorn, it's going to trine Venus and Libra. So this kind of like internal reconsideration of the structures that you have in place, the strategy that you have in place as it relates to your hobbies, your kids, all of those things, it's going to easily blend with whatever it is that you value. Feeling balanced here. There's an easy lineup, and what it's really showing you is what structures need to stay, what structures need to go, where do you need to be more flexible. And there was a point in time where these structures were needed, but you're getting to a point in your growth, your personal growth, where some of those structures, they're just outdated now. You don't need them. They need to be morphed into something better. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn will trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so we saw it earlier in the day. We're seeing it now, but now Pluto's got a different kind of energy to it because it now re-entered Capricorn. And so when you think about everything related to your children, your hobbies, things like that, all those structures you have in place, what changes need to happen to those structures, it's going to easily blend with whatever changes are already taking place relative to your personal growth, because Uranus and Taurus is sitting in that house of growth and expansion. And that's really what all of this transformation is about. It's about your growth and expansion here. We'll also have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so thinking about, let's go with children, because this is 5th house, 7th house. And so what is your plan? What is your strategy around children? What structures do you have in place? What do you maybe need to morph and modify here, get rid of? It's going to create an opportunity for you to have that significant relationship that you're looking for. So spouse, if you're married, significant other, that kind of relationship. And so it's creating an opportunity that you would have to seize. It's not something that's just going to happen on its own. And then this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn will square Chiron retrograde in Aries. Chiron retrograde in Aries, and I remember this one specifically for Virgo just because this is sitting in a spot where there might be power and control issues that have been coming to the surface. There might be money issues that have been coming to the surface, thinking about like the money that you earn and any kind of wound connected to the money you earn. Like think of your self-worth tied to the title and the prestige that you had at work. Again, connected to the money that you earn, or it could be connected to intimacy issues, power and control issues, any kind of relationship issues are part of that 8th house energy. And so this would indicate that whatever reconsideration and reevaluation you're doing as it relates to your children, if you have them, your hobbies, your passions, all of those things, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge for you to take any action right now on healing that wound. It's just maybe not the right time, or I would say probably not the right time. You can work through it though. It's a square. You just have to put the effort in. That's all the first. Then on the second, we have the new moon in the sign of Virgo. So that one's going to happen at 9:55 p.m. Eastern time. And so when this happens, you have the sun and the moon. They're at the same degree point in the sky, which means they're overlapping each other. It's a complete blend of energies. So this is a lot of expressing your feelings. This is all sitting in your first house. So this is something maybe about your physical person. How do you feel about yourself? Expressing yourself in a way that is very authentic to you right now. I love when the new moon happens in that sign because it's just such a positive thing here. It's really about you focusing on yourself and what you want. And when the sun and moon, so during this new moon, the sun and moon will square Jupiter in Gemini. And so Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter's at home in Sagittarius. It is not happy being in Gemini because Gemini is the opposite sign. So it's at its actually weakest point. It's still a positive planet. And so it's still going to have some sort of positive impact here, even though it is a square that you would maybe have to put some effort into. Jupiter is going to kind of lighten that load a little bit here. And so when you have the sun and moon in Virgo in your first house, your physical self, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to maybe some sort of growth within your career. This is not going to be some sort of significant growth issue at all. This is more about, like, I would say maybe a minor inconvenience because Jupiter, I mean, it's the most benefic planet. So even at its fall, it's still a really positive planet and it's still going to have a positive impact. And so this can indicate something connected to growing your career. The sun and moon in Virgo will be opposite Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And so during this new moon energy, because you are very focused on yourself and expressing yourself, and maybe some details around maybe healing that you've gone through because you're a very healing sign, it's going to be opposite any kind of work that you're doing, internal work that you're doing to have that significant relationship, your marriage partner, have that relationship that you want here, because these are going to be opposite signs. Then we have Mars enter the sign of Cancer. So that's going to happen on the 4th at 3:46 in the afternoon Eastern time. Mars is the planet of action. Cancer is a very emotional sign. In fact, it's the deepest, most emotional sign within the zodiac. So this is a lot of acting out your feelings or really letting your feelings kind of fuel your actions here. So kind of positive in that respect. Mars in Cancer for you is transiting your 11th house. Your 11th house is your community, it's your friends, it's the people that you surround yourself with. So there might be some sort of action you're taking here, something that you really want to do, something that is going to be emotionally fulfilling for you. And what it's doing is it's going to create some sort of opportunity for you to really express yourself, because this Mars in Cancer will sextile Mercury in Leo. That energy is sitting in your subconscious. And so it's going to allow you to maybe be bold and step out of your comfort zone in the way that you're expressing yourself. Mars in Cancer will square the moon in Libra. And so this kind of emotional expression, let's say emotionally charged action that you're taking here, it's going to create some sort of opportunity, some sort of obstacle or challenge to feeling balanced. But it's going to get better. I say that because this Mars in Cancer energy is pretty much impacting everybody the same way. You might have these kind of, I want to say, emotional outbursts that are going to take place. It's not going to happen over a long period of time. This is not an energy that is going to sit around forever. You are going to bounce back and kind of be stable pretty quickly here. But in the meantime, it's going to square that moon in Libra. It's also going to square Venus in Libra. So anything that you've been doing that maybe tried to make yourself feel balanced, bring some sort of harmony into your life, this these emotional actions that you're taking are going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to feeling balanced. It's also going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to having that relationship that you're looking for, that significant relationship, your spouse, or that significant other. But then we have Mercury enter the sign of Virgo. And so it's your sign. So that's going to happen on the 9th at 2:50 in the morning Eastern time. Mercury rules your sign. This is a lot of communication. This is a lot of thinking things through, a lot of deep thinking, healing conversations. And so when Mercury enters Virgo, that's going to impact your first house. And so it's all about your healing self-expression, the way that you're expressing yourself, whatever it is that you know about yourself and you want to put out there into the universe. It's going to easily flow. That wound that I mentioned before, that Chiron retrograde in Aries sitting in your 8th house. So think of like relationship wounds, intimacy wounds, maybe anything connected to the money that you earn. These healing conversations, or the way that you're expressing yourself here, it's going to really easily flow with whatever you're trying to do to heal that wound. Easy blend of energy, nothing additional required on your part in order to make that happen. We'll have Mercury in Virgo sextile Mars in Cancer. And so where a couple of days before this, when Mercury entered Cancer, we saw a lot of kind of emotional outburst type of energy. Well, here what we're seeing is the way that you're expressing yourself, it's going to create an opportunity for you to take different action as it relates to your emotions. And this indicates that maybe the action that you're taking might be a healing type of action, because this is going to be driven by whatever it is that you're feeling, positive or negative. It's going to be driven by your emotions here. And that is going to relate to your friends. And so whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your friends, it's going to be an emotionally charged action. Mercury in Virgo square Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so the way that you're expressing yourself, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to those changes that are taking place for your personal growth. And so you can kind of see how this is going. So you've got this healing self-expression, you've got these changes that are taking place, maybe even volatile changes that are taking place. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, a sudden shakeup is still a shakeup. It's going to be uncomfortable. And so it's just creating some sort of obstacle or challenge for you to navigate those changes that are happening that are meant to help you grow as a person. We have Mercury in Virgo square the moon in Scorpio. And so this healing self-expression that's taking place, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to maybe expressing how you feel or the way that you feel or something along those lines. Right now, the energy seems to be more focused on you being very authentic to yourself and expressing yourself in a meaningful way that really just honors who you are. And everything else can kind of take a back seat at the moment. That's how this energy feels. Then we have our first glimpse at the new eclipse season. So right now we're in Aries Libra. We're finishing this one up. In its place will be, so we're going to navigate into yours. It's going to be Pisces Virgo. So Virgo is going to be the south node. Pisces will be the north node. Virgo, south node energy, what you feel comfortable doing. North node energy, what you're kind of called to do. What kind of action do you need to take right now? This is what you're kind of being driven to do. And so during this full moon will be the first time that we see one of these eclipses. It's going to be a partial lunar eclipse. It's going to happen on the 17th at 10:34 in the evening Eastern time. And so for you, it'll be the sun in Virgo in your first house, your physical person, opposite moon in Pisces. So how do you feel about your significant other, your marriage partner, that relationship? During any full moon, we'll have the sun and moon kind of have different conversations with the planets. This one's actually more positive for both the sun and the moon than I've seen a lot of the more recent full moons. And so during this one, we'll have the sun in Virgo trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so the way that you're expressing yourself, it's going to easily flow with whatever those changes that are taking place meant for your personal growth. That Uranus retrograde in Taurus is removing anything that has been preventing you from growing. And so expressing yourself really kind of helps that. The moon in Pisces will sextile Uranus or retrograde in Taurus. And so how you feel about your significant other actually creates an opportunity for more change to take place for your personal growth here. It's giving you that additional opportunity. Now this one would be something that you would have to recognize and then take advantage of. It's just not going to happen on its own, but that's a positive one. And then we will have the Sun in Virgo trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so the way that you're expressing yourself, maybe some sort of healing expression, it's going to easily flow with reevaluating those structures you have in place relative to your children, if you have them, or your hobbies, your passions. Could even be short-term relationships. I'm just putting it out there, even though I'm talking a lot about long-term. That 7th house is long-term. I'm not judging. We're just going to say that. But anyway, you're reconsidering those structures that you have in place. This is an easy blend of energy. The way that you're expressing yourself really kind of aligns with whatever it is that you're reconsidering there. And really whatever changes you're making in those structures. We'll also have the moon in Pisces sextile Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so how you feel about your significant other, it's going to create an opportunity for even more changes in that structure. Maybe get rid of additional structures, loosening up things a little bit here in those structures in that 5th house of fun. So your kids, your hobbies, your passions, all of it. So those are all positive. We do have a negative kind of popping up in here. So we'll have the Sun and Moon. They're actually in a T-square to Jupiter and Gemini. So Jupiter and Gemini is sitting in your 10th house of career and public reputation. But again, Jupiter is a benefic planet. It's actually the most benefic planet. And so it still is positive, even though it's at its fall. So it's at its weakest point right now. And it's in a difficult aspect. Even with me saying all that, this is still not a negative. Like, not really, not in the way that you think. So when this happens, you'll have the Sun in a square. So the way that you're healing, the way that you're expressing yourself, it's going to create some sort of challenge to any kind of growth within your career. But this doesn't feel like it's really holding you back in any way because it is Jupiter energy. How you feel about your significant other is going to also create some sort of obstacle or challenge for this growth. But again, it's more of, I would say, if you're thinking about this, and this has come up in other readings, there's so much transformation taking place that if you're looking for major growth and expansion, now's not the right time. But are you going to have some growth and expansion? Yeah, probably, because you've got all of this positive aspects. Well, they're not positive aspects, but Jupiter's positive. And so there's something here about this eclipse that is going to impact your career or public reputation in a positive way, but not as strong as a positive way. However, there's so much transformation taking place here. It would be next to impossible to completely transform and completely grow at the same time. Those would have to be baby steps because of all the things that you're getting rid of, all of these things that are changing. You would have to almost give it a minute for the dust to settle before you could grow and expand. We'll also have the Sun in Virgo opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so not a surprise here because you've got the Sun and the Moon at those opposite points. The Moon's in Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces. And so the way that you're expressing yourself right now, it's opposite how you feel or your ideal relationship with your significant other. And so this is a push-pull energy. This is definitely something that you can work with. You just have to find that happy medium. Whereas the Moon in Pisces will be conjunct Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So how you feel about this other person and the relationship that you have fully aligns with your ideal relationship here. So again, positive in that way. Then we have the Sun enter the sign of Libra. So that's going to happen on the 22nd at 8:44 in the morning Eastern time. When the Sun enters the sign of Libra, so the Sun is that self-expression. Libra is a very balanced energy. For you, this is sitting in your 2nd house of personal finances. So really thinking about balancing your personal finances, feeling really secure in the money that you have or the investments that you've made. It's going to trine the Moon in Libra. So this is really going to easily flow with how you feel about your career or public reputation. Easy blend of energy. The Sun in Libra will trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so how you feel about your personal finances, the way that you express yourself, feeling very balanced in that security that you have, it's going to easily blend with whatever changes are taking place that are meant for your personal growth. This Sun in Libra will also trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. You can see this is a lot of positive here. This is all easy flowing energy, no work required on your part here. And so that balanced financial security that you've already created for yourself, maybe conversations around that, easily blends with any change that's happening in the structures related to children, related to your passions or hobbies, things like that. Then we do have the Sun in Libra square Jupiter in Gemini. Again, it's Jupiter, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not going to be a real negative here, but it's not going to be at its most positive. So it's not going to be as growing and expanding as it normally could be. And so those balanced finances that you have, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge for growing within your career. But again, think massive growth versus smaller growth more likely, massive growth less likely right now. And I hope that came through clearly because I'm not speaking that well. Not sure why my tongue keeps swelling, but we'll just put that to the side. Anyway, what I'm trying to say there is maybe now's not the time for that massive growth. It may be more that smaller growth within your career. Then we have the Sun in Libra conjunct Mercury in the sign of Virgo. And so thinking about balancing your finances easily blends with you expressing yourself, whatever it is that you understand about yourself, anything here from a healing standpoint. So overlapping energy, really positive there. And then we have the Sun in Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so balancing your personal finances is going to be opposite that ideal relationship that you want. And so this could indicate here, because it's like the money that I'm saving versus maybe your ideal relationship involves a lot of travel, but right now you're very focused on saving and balancing out your finances. And so that would be something that's opposite here. You could find that happy medium. You just have to work with the energy. And then later that same day, we have Venus enter the sign of Scorpio. And so that's going to happen on the 22nd at 10:36 in the evening Eastern time. And so Venus in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio is sitting in your house of communication. Venus is very loyal. Scorpio is very passionate. And so you can kind of already see where this is going. So this is going to be some sort of passionate, loyal conversations, expressing yourself. It's going to easily blend with whatever advancement you want in your career, because this Venus in Scorpio will trine Jupiter and Gemini. So that growth that you're looking for in your career, this is the transit that helps you there. Whatever you're doing, this might be loyal conversations you're having with your employer, and that leads to some sort of growth and expansion here. We have Venus in Scorpio square Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so these kind of passionate, loyal conversations that you're having with other people, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge here to changing the structures relative to your children or your passions, things like that. And then at the end of the month, so on the 26th, we have Mercury enter the sign of Libra. So that's going to happen at 4:09 in the morning Eastern time. And so when Mercury enters Libra, it's really more of that same energy. This is very balanced conversation and communication and really understanding everything through that lens. It's all about harmony and just finding that even, like that equilibrium. And so for you, Mercury is in your second house. It's transiting your second house. And so Mercury and Sun will be in a conjunction with each other. So this is a lot of balanced conversation, communication, maybe balancing your finances because it's sitting in that house of personal finances. So really great from that perspective. If you've ever wanted to balance your finances or have some conversations in order to do that, this would be the transit to do it. Mercury in Libra will also trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So this would be, again, balancing out your finances, maybe having conversations with an investor or somebody here that can help you balance out your finances. It's going to easily flow with whatever is changing here that's meant for your growth. Again, Uranus retrograde in Taurus, removing all of those inner barriers that you might have erected that prevent you from growing and becoming more of whatever it is that you want here. And so this is where balancing out your finances, having those conversations kind of leads to growth. Mercury in Libra will trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so that balanced conversation or communication around your finances or what you value, it's also going to easily flow with whatever changes are taking place relative to your children or your passions, your hobbies, things like that. We will have Mercury in Libra square Jupiter in Gemini. And so balancing out your finances, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to growth within your career. But again, think of like massive growth versus small amount of growth. Small amount more likely, massive amount maybe less likely. And then we have Mercury in Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so balancing out your finances, having conversations around balancing out your finances, it is going to be opposite that ideal relationship that you want to have, that significant other, your spouse, if you're married. And so this is a push-pull energy again, thinking back to when we saw this with the sun. It might be an instance where you just don't get to spend the money, or you're just not in a place to really want to spend the money right now to do all the things with your significant other that you would normally want to do. You can find the happy medium. You just have to work on it. So Virgo, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.